Media is attention. From the beginning of time, attention and influence is what drives people to make decisions. The customers that you have are only your customers because you capture their attention and then you influence them to make a buying decision with your company and trust you. So I'm telling you, you have to maintain that trust. And there's different mechanisms and there's different ways of leveraging platforms with video, non-video, audio, written, that tap into how the current consumer likes to be communicated to and tap into the trust mechanisms that drive the current consumer.
Welcome to the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast, and I'm your host, Dwayne Kerrigan. With 35 years in business and close to 30 ventures across 12 industries, I've seen a lot. Amid the celebrity allure of entrepreneurship, many exceptional entrepreneurs remain shadowed. Here, I team up with these hidden talents to unveil their challenges and successes. Dive in with me to unearth entrepreneurial gems, learn from our experiences, and get educated. Guys, this is part 2 of my episode with Scott Clary. You guys can check him out at his podcast, Success Story Podcast. It's a great conversation. If you didn't hear the last week's, go back and listen to that one. We're diving deep into digital media, the requirement for it, what's going to happen if you don't do it to your business, and this is just an incredibly important conversation for people to listen to and pay very, very close attention to the downside if you don't. Guys, thanks very much for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Enjoy part 2 of Scott Clary. This is such spectacular conversation and it's spectacular content, and I'm super grateful for this. I just want to chunk down, make sure I didn't miss anything, just to recap it for the listener. But, I wrote media equals attention. Give time and energy to building your content. Your first content will suck. Stick with it and work through it. Study and research your content and how to deliver your content. Be a consumer of content. So you see it from the, consumer's standpoint. I'm using a lot of my own words. I'm just transcribing it into it. So please.
This is all 100% accurate.
Okay. And then, so analyze the data, and, why did something perform? And then test the strategy. Those were the things that I wrote.
This is a pretty good start, by the way, for anybody. This is where you go. This is where you start.
Right. And so, but here was, as you were kind of describing it, it's like, I put myself in my 2-year-old, 2 years ago, past history, before I started doing podcasts. I didn't people go you're doing what? If I haven't seen them for a couple of years, I used to hire somebody to scrub the internet from any mention of me. I was anti. You can ask Heather, when we were working on putting this podcast idea together, I didn't do it because I wanted to sell anything. I did it because I really felt that people needed to hear stories from people who are grinding it out every day, so that they, I believe that people shift through the power of story. I think it's the greatest way for us to learn, because it allows us to put ourselves into other people's shoes and go, oh my God, that guy's been there. Oh, he struggled with that. Oh, what he's saying, I can totally relate to that in my business. I could do this. And it allows us to leverage somebody else's experiences and into our own. And so that's why I did the podcast. There was zero business strategy to what I'm doing here. And so I'm wondering, could you, my 2-year-old self wouldn't have understood a damn thing you just said. And so
do you not think so? Do you think that
people would be like, what do you mean by content?
Why do those concepts fall? I'm just curious why those concepts, because I agree. I get this pushback too. And I guess it's hard when you're in this game to sort of remove yourself and look at it from a different person's perspective, which I always try and do, because I think that actually makes me ironically a better content creator, when you can not just speak from your own biases and your own lived experience, but you can also tap into other people's life, right? When they're listening to you, there's something going on in their life, and that's how they're interpreting what you're saying. You're interpreting it through your own lived experience. They're hearing your words, but they're interpreting it through whatever happened in their life. And it's not easy to do that, but I try and do that. But I always have a tough time, and this is why I draw analogies, but I have a tough time when I say these things, and I all these ideas you just mentioned about how you should start content and putting the reps in and sucking efforts, like these are such universal business ideas. These are career ideas. These are relationship ideas. These are gym ideas. Like when you start, you suck in the relationship. When you start in the gym, you suck. Like you don't know what you're doing. You don't know what the person cares about. You don't know their love language. When you go into the gym, you don't know how to do a bicep curl. You don't know what a macro is. You don't know, like when you start your business, when you start your career, you suck across the board. I guess what I have a tough time understanding is why they would think that anything different would apply to content.
Yeah, I don't know if it's that they don't understand it, but I think a lot of times what happens is, especially when it comes to content, is that th- largely people have a fear, and they're, you talk to thought seekers, they'll say like people's greatest fear is that they're not enough, and if they're not enough, they won't be loved or appreciated or respected or whatever. And in business, I think this happens sometimes or oftentimes, is that people tie their identity to their business. And if they try to go and do content and it sucks, it's a reflection that they suck. And they don't want to put themselves out there. We go, oh, it's the business. It's not you personally, but it's the business. Yeah. But it is them personally. It is their identity. It is it's what they've crafted oftentimes their whole entire life. I mean, a guy just popped into my head, and he's got a business. I won't say it, and I won't say his name, but it's 3-generation business. There's 3 generations, at least 3, maybe 4, no, 3. Um, and there is a massive risk, personal risk, that if he puts something out there, that it is a reflection on him, his family, his legacy, his family's legacy, the name. And so that they are like, well, we'll just do it a little bit. Well, and it's like, getting a website was a big thing. Redoing a website, shifting your website to mobile.
By the way, just a point.
Yeah.
What you're describing is a reality, and it is actually highlighting how technology is making the gap bigger and bigger and bigger, which is crazy because people are using AI agents, and some businesses are scared of websites, and the gap is only going to get bigger.
And that is my greatest fear.
And by the way, not just business gap, wealth gaps, like because of
education,
everything. Yeah.
And this is one of my biggest fears around, I mean, not to, we will probably shift to AI, but this is one of my biggest fears for business owners, is that this shift that's going to happen, like what we saw happen in the internet in the early 2000s, is going to be like, this is going to like a tsunami that rolls in, and people will not catch up. And I mean, and this is, look, obviously I'm projecting of myself. Like, small business has been the greatest thing that I've ever been involved in my life, other than my wife and my kids. It's like, it has just given me so much. My friends, my everything, my lifestyle, my knowledge, my growth, my love and connection. Like, it's met every single need that I could ever imagine. Uh, and I know that there's business owners out there that are so tied in their identity to their business, and it scares the hell out of me that if they don't start seeing this now, that is going to go away. And then this whole shift, whether it's family legacy, whether it's wealth, whether it's cash flow, whatever it is, and you pair that with, what I talked about earlier in terms of the reduction of cost, or the increase of cost of living, joblessness. It's getting more expensive to do anything. we are at the precipice of some major shifts. And like I said earlier, like good, bad, there'll be good from it, there'll be bad from it. But I want to help people explore the good.
But can I touch on that? Just
Yeah,
like one
please.
thought.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this multi-generational, three-generational family-owned business. And you actually mentioned two things that I'm not even sure if you realize this, but it's very interesting because I just picked up on this. They're worried that, and there's a chance that, and there probably is a reality that technology and AI and innovation could disrupt their business and could ruin their legacy. But they're also worried that putting themselves on social and creating brand and creating media could destroy their legacy. So, what is the outcome? What is the potential outcome in both situations? What is the more realistic outcome in both situations? Do you think that technology and somebody coming after your market and building a business is stronger than yours, is more notable and trusted than yours, is going to ruin your family legacy? Or do you think that you being a good marketer is going to ruin your family legacy?
Hey, listen.
And I think that chances of you being a good marketer is actually, you're incorrect in assuming that's going to ruin your family legacy. That's like some subconscious trauma.
That's the major limiting beliefs that we
But
carry.
it's always like a choose your hard, right? So would you rather choose your hard and learn how to be relevant and be a modern business, or you choose the heart of someone who is a modern relevant business taking over your market and you truly losing your family legacy because somebody destroyed your business and now you have to sell it off for scraps after 3 generations, right? So it's like a choose your hard. I would rather choose the heart of, and I'm not, like, again, like a business owner is going to listen to me and be like, well, I don't care. I'm not dancing on TikTok, bro. Like no one's asking you to dance on TikTok.
That's what
Like,
they think though, right?
that's where their mind goes. And that's not like, whenever somebody asks, where should I start with content? I say, start with the medium that you enjoy the most. You like conversations with deep thought, context, do a podcast. You like writing? Okay. Do you like short, quippy, smart ideas, Twitter threads? Do you like long form where you're thinking through your thoughts, you're writing down the things that are plaguing your business, your life, your industry? Go on Substack, start a newsletter for your industry. Like, media doesn't mean showing up on camera and being, an idiot or an asshole or somebody dancing around. Not that there's anything wrong with any of that, but I get why the average CEO does not feel like dancing to a trend on TikTok. Media is attention. From the beginning of time, attention and influence is what drives people to make decisions. So the customers that you have, I'm reframing, the customers that you have are only your customers because you capture their attention and then you influence them to make a buying decision with your company and trust you. So I'm telling you, you have to maintain that trust. And there's different mechanisms and there's different ways of leveraging platforms with video, non-video, audio, written, that tap into how the current consumer likes to be communicated to and tap into the trust mechanisms that drive the current consumer. So you already captured attention and built trust, which built you a business. I'm just saying that find a modern way to do that, to maintain that trust. Even if it's not video, if you find a way to capture attention on any media platform, including written. I think everybody should be a writer for a variety of different reasons, but that's not this conversation right now. But I think it helps you organize your thoughts. I think it helps you show gaps in your own knowledge. I think it helps you think clearer, pull words quicker when you're having a conversation, formulate arguments. Writing is a very useful skill for anybody. But if you don't like video, then why don't you become the newsletter, the media that communicates news and information in your niche, in your category, niche because you're Canadian, on Substack? Why not write that newsletter and be the one newsletter that speaks about home care services and everything to do with home care services on Substack or on Kit or on Beehive or on Medium, 4 different newsletter writing platforms? Or there's people that just speak about, there's somebody, I'm going to blank on his name right now. I think it's Nick Huberman, who does he's on Twitter. His handle's like Sweaty Startup, if I'm not mistaken. And I think all he did when he first started was he acquired like storage facilities. How unsexy is acquiring storage facilities? Like, you can't think of an unsexier business. but that's what he wrote about. Now he writes about other stuff, and he has like, you know, this whole entrepreneur crowd, but he started just writing about his, I guess his storage roll-up acquisition strategy, like so niche, but that's where he built his audience. So I'm saying, like, anybody can do that. He doesn't jump on camera. He writes on Twitter. I mean, you can do whatever you want. I'm just saying that this is attention and trust that you got to capture somehow. And this is a new way to do it. So that's why I want to reframe, because it's something that you've already done once. You just got to keep doing it. And you got to do it in a way that's relevant for the buyer in 2025 and beyond. That's the way I look at media for a business owner.
So can we take an industry, what you pick, and walk through a few things where, like you had mentioned, Beehive and all that, like
these are just newsletter hosting platforms, just to give people a few tools and whatnot.
right?
But yeah,
Which they could literally, but once you say, okay, like if we took an industry and we walked through some of these stages and say, hey, in this industry, here's what some options would look like, and then, you know, it.
but that's the thing. It depends on this. It depends on what the CEO or the founder feels comfortable with. So for example,
Mhm.
you could be a lawn care business and you could write a weekly newsletter, or you could dance on TikTok, or you could start a podcast about lawn care, and you could do a solo podcast where you teach things about lawn care to homeowners, or you could do an interview style podcast where you interview homeowners that were customers and speak about all the things that are plaguing them with their lawn, with their garden. Like that's my point. There are 10 different styles of content that you can create for any industry. You just got to pick the one that you enjoy, because you can be successful at any of them. That's my point. You can have a successful lawn care services newsletter. You can have a successful lawn care services podcast. You don't have to do them all. Do the one that you enjoy, because if you do it for a long enough period of time, it will attract an audience. It'll build trust. It'll convert into customers. It doesn't matter which one it is. It doesn't matter if it's not Instagram. It doesn't matter, because you can build enough business off just capturing attention on a weekly newsletter on Substack that will now rank you as the only Substack that writes about lawn care services. So anybody who's a reader on that platform, out of the millions of readers who cares about lawn care, they're going to subscribe to you. And guess who they're going to talk about to their friends or their family, or who they're going to hire when they want anything to do with lawn care. If you're available in their area, they're going to hire you.
So if you, let's say, let me ask you this question. If you owned a lawn care business,
Yeah.
and I know you're going to say, I know, and
Well, I can
I totally understand the point about, yeah, do what you like, but what platform would you choose if you were in lawn care?
If I could pick any,
Yeah.
I would. So an example for lawn care that I see do really well. First of all, to answer your question specifically, I would pick the platform with the most organic reach. So right now, TikTok has massive organic reach, but keep in mind, if I'm creating for TikTok, I can also just repurpose that video on YouTube Shorts and on Instagram. So for lawn care in particular, something that requires no talent, meaning like you don't have to speak to the camera. There are people that go to someone's home and they say, hey, I need content. I'm going to touch up your lawn for free, like one afternoon of work. Figure out what that cost is to you. Maybe $500, maybe I don't know what lawn care services, whatever. It's going to be less than $10,000
Right.
to fix up someone's lawn for an afternoon. That's all that matters. That's your marketing budget, right? That's a soft cost to you. And they go up to the home and say, I'm going to fix up your lawn for free. I don't need you on camera. I just want to film the work that I'm doing. And one type of content that does really well is they'll set up a camera, they'll film themselves working, and then they just fast forward. And then you see, in a matter of
like a time lapse
of 30 seconds, this horribly overgrown lawn turn into this like manicured work of art. And you can find these people right now that have like millions and millions and millions of subscribers, because watching this type of content, it's very therapeutic. You see the before, the after. There's a lot of like psychological triggers that make people want to watch this type of content, and it just blows up. So if I was a lawn care service business, I would be like, wow, that content kills. I'm just going to create that content and it'll work. It's not complicated. It's not rocket science. If I did any business, if I was a lawyer, I'd find 5 lawyers that are killing it on TikTok, and I'd be like, what do they do? Okay, let me reverse engineer their content strategy and let me just create some of that content. Like, everybody feels like social media is so saturated, but it's really not. If you are creating niche content, maybe you have like a few competitors, but there's so many eyeballs. There's so many eyeballs watching content. So if you were a lawyer, you go to the lawyers that have the largest audiences. Maybe there's like 5 to 10 of them in North America. How many lawyers are licensed in North America, right? Like, I'm sure like a lot,
Yeah, a lot,
right? A lot.
yeah.
I don't even know, a lot. Who cares if you're the 11th or the 12th, most prolific lawyer content creator? You'll have more business, like you'll be flying private. You'll have more business than you know what to do with. Like, this is the thing about these non-vanity businesses, these unsexy businesses. Even a little bit of attention is going to drive more revenue than you know what to do with. And if you are smart about it and you copy a strategy that's already working, there's a reason why it works. People are going to recognize it as content they enjoy consuming, and you're going to build a following over a period of time. It's not going to be week one, but again, if you're strategic about it and you're smart about it, and you copy the strategy and the style of what's already working, the effects are replicated. Like, a lot of my content strategy, I have a content strategy for every single platform, because now I am a content creator. I'm full-time, right? This is my thing. So I have a Twitter strategy, an Instagram strategy, YouTube, podcast, all that. And I have somebody who I look at on every single platform that is growing faster than anyone else because they figured out something for that platform. And that is my inspiration for my strategy on that particular platform. I'm learning from somebody who's done it. And it's not just like a one and done. Like, I'm always researching, I'm always learning. I notice a new creator, they have a new style, it's growing faster than anything else. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let me try that. Let me create a piece of that content and see what it does. And 9 times out of 10, it performs just as well as the way that as what it does on their platform. Because for whatever reason, that style, the way they write, the way they film, that resonates with an audience. And I only pay attention to people, not with the biggest audience, but are growing the quickest now. That's an important metric for me. Because if they have the biggest audience, that means that they could have gotten in when there wasn't as many people creating content. Like Gary Vee, I could create the exact same pieces as Gary Vee, and some of it would perform, but it wouldn't perform as well as somebody who's figured out in 2025 what content hits with the algorithm starting from zero. And this is and after a while, you will start to, you will have a process of constant research and iteration, because the stuff that works now it's not even the same stuff that worked 6 months ago. Now, that's overwhelming if you're trying to post on 5 or 6 or 10 different platforms, but it's not overwhelming if you're only focused on one, which is really the point. Because you don't not everybody here has to be a professional content creator. You are creating content for your business. And that's why studying one platform and learning one platform and just being obsessed with one platform, I think, is the best way to start, because you're going to know that platform better than anything else. You're going to know your competitors on that platform. You're going to know other creators on that platform. You're going to learn from them. You're going to see what works. You're going to see what doesn't. You're going to try. You're going to test. You're going to win at that platform. But that's what I still do to today, and that's how I think people should start.
Yeah. So the bumper sticker that just popped through my mind was, that's a mic drop moment. What you just delivered there. And I'm going to say this to the audience, that like what Scott just delivered there, I think, and I'm going to ask you this question actually, is what do you think a business could grow 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x based on what you just said, which is copy what the best people in your industry are doing, and just repeat that.
Yeah, that's where you start.
That's where you start.
I'm not saying like and what's the saying, like steal like an artist or something like that. So you steal the format, you steal the strategy. You're not copying their script and reading it verbatim. You just understand that this style of content kills it. Okay, so now you have the box you can play in, the content box you can play in. Now you take your own wisdom, your own lived experience, your own flair, whatever it is, and you put it and you apply it to that format of content.
Yeah. And even if you copy the style of how they like the you had said earlier, like do what makes you feel comfortable.
Yes.
So if you're out there and you go out and copy what the best people are doing in the format that you would like to do it in.
Exactly.
Right?
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But at least start, like, I mean, when we first started chatting, we said like the first version of your content's going to suck. This is a way for it to suck less, basically, right?
Yeah.
And you were going to ask, what's the result? What can a business achieve? I mean, it's hard to put like a multiplier on it, like a 1x, 2x. Joe Rogan gets more impressions than all other news channels combined during the last presidential election. So like take that for like what does independent media actually mean if done properly? I mean, like it's just unlimited amount of impressions, unlimited amount. Like I don't think people can really fathom the result that they can achieve with this. And it's not like a 1x or a 2x. It's like the difference between your business thriving and your business not existing anymore. I don't know what that multiplier is. I just know that if I was going to look at two business owners, one of them says, I don't have time for content. And one of them says, I'm doing nothing but learning content and I'm studying all the best content creators. Like I would put like my net worth on the content creator to be around in 10 years. That's what I would bet, because I just see so many examples. I see so many examples of content creators building businesses, and businesses also just using content to stay relevant. Gary Vee launched a $300 million, well, built a $300 million marketing agency. And then he launches companies like it's going to like Empathy Wines, VaynerMedia, 1PM, launched an NFT project. Alex Hormozi, because of media, because of content, built, well, first of all, his entire brand, but then he launched his latest book, which was $100 million money models. I think that was his latest book. And it was self-published, meaning he didn't work with Penguin Random House or Wiley or any other publishing house. And it was, if I'm not mistaken, the largest single book launch in history or something like that. It generated over $100 million in revenue as a book launch. So it was competing with like Prince Harry's book and Barack Obama's book. So, I mean, media works. Now, whether or not,
and he's taken way more to the house than those guys because they went through a traditional publisher.
Split.
There's no split.
It's 100% revenue. There's no split. He self-publishes it. He pays his team, but it's 100% revenue. So, and traditionally, if you're working with a publisher, what is like 15% you take home? They take home the 75 or the 85%, excuse me. It's massive. A massive split. So what will this do for your business? I can't even put a number on it.
Well, it could revolutionize it.
It will.
Well,
it will.
So let me.
Well, even if you look at like the biggest businesses in the world, like you think that Elon would have the success that he had if he didn't have the personality? Like because of his personality, which is, I mean, he has a bigger following than SpaceX, than Tesla, than X. Like he is the personality. If he was anonymous, he would be a great entrepreneur for sure, and he'd have a ton of success. But do you think that he would have the same amount of success, or not even just success, but leverage? So when he looked to purchase Twitter, I think a large reason why a lot of people put money into that deal is because of who he is, because he was so loud and outspoken. So I think that personality probably got that deal partially funded. I'm not ignorant. I know that he obviously has these connections already, but I'm pretty sure that when you put yourself out there, you attract a lot. So you get access to opportunities that you probably would have never even thought possible. So again, it's in my opinion, I think it's required.
What do you say to guys like I'm thinking of a few like guys who own financial firms in New York City or manufacturing companies that are B2B, or and they all like they're like yeah, but that doesn't work in our. I mean, because they've never tried it, they've never done. Or
yeah, that's a good question. A lot of wealth managers and whatnot, they don't put themselves out there because their firms won't let them. I don't know. That's a good question.
But if you own the firm,
you
do whatever the fuck you want.
I bet if, well, I mean, like these guys are some of the people that we're talking about, like the people that truly own the firms, like financial firms, like some of them are too big to fail. Like you don't look at like BlackRock and be like, they need, but you know what? Even these like behemoths, they put out a lot of content on social.
Yeah, it's like this applies to any business.
It applies to any business. Like if Jamie Dimon's putting out content and doing podcasts, at some point you have to. If not to like, if you're not worried about somebody coming, because I don't think Jamie Dimon's worried about, someone taking market share. But I think that it's still a big it's a big factor in building trust. So that's the other component. So say you are like $1 billion plus business. Say you are too big to fail, or whatever that means. You could also just lose trust. You could just like a sieve, like a leaky bucket. Like you could just, like, your customers over time could just gravitate towards somebody that's building trust on social.
Yeah, no, I think it's like
I'm pretty sure that if you said there's someone who has like $100 million, $500 million manufacturing business, I don't need to do it. If I spent like a day, I could probably find somebody, a smart entrepreneur, that's going to steal market share from you, that is more content and social focused than you. And you may not even think about it, but maybe in 5 years from now, you're going to notice them. That's what I truly believe. And
that's why I'm sticking with this for so long, because I believe it too. I believe this. But
I know that some people would be like, you're ignorant. I don't need it in my industry. I just can't imagine a single industry that won't be disrupted at some point from somebody who builds out their personal brand. It's just, it's my belief system. And I think that part of why that's my belief system is I think that it's safer to err on the side of believing in social than not. I don't think that it hurts you to believe that it's going to be the future, to believe that it builds massive amounts of trust, to believe that it's going to positively influence my business. I don't think there's any downside. I just think that I think that, listen, whenever I, think about any business strategy, I'm like, okay, what are the potential risks? What is the potential upside of doing this thing, right? What's the potential risk of this initiative or this project? And social to me is, unless you are an asshole and you're going to get yourself canceled, which I hope is not the case for most people. If you are a smart person and you give tons of value, I just see unlimited upside and basically negligible downside. So that's just a bet.
And if you get good at it, it can be very inexpensive.
But this is again, like, business is just a series of bets. Every bet, you just got to do like a risk to reward analysis, right? I hire this person. What's the best that can happen? What's the worst that can happen? I just see social as like the thing with unlimited potential, unlimited upside, no downside. So why not, is my question. What's the downside? $70,000 per year social media manager. If you can't build a business and you can't absorb that salary, I mean, I'm sorry, you have bigger problems than that, really, when it comes down to it. And if you can't absorb that salary immediately and you do believe in social, then we've already gone over this. There's a million different tools that you can use to make it in your spare time for free as part of your marketing strategy. So whether or not it's one person or it's just yourself and learning what tools are out there, like there's zero excuse not to do it.
These guys will invest $1 million in a golf tournament, sponsoring a golf tournament, but they won't spend 70 grand on a social media marketing.
Doesn't make any sense to me.
Makes no sense.
No.
And then when you talked about risk, the thing that popped into my head was like, there's risk versus reward, but there's also risk versus probability. What's the risk versus the probability that something is going to, like, that this strategy could take off, be worth something, add value to the company, whatever it looks like. Like
attract. I mean,
the probability is super high.
The probability is incredibly high, because we're not doing that. Like, listen, we're not creating content so that we're seen by like 5 people online. the strategy that I'm outlining is going to get you seen by 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, 1,000,000 people if executed properly over a period of time. You study, you're smart, you research, you recreate what works. Social media is not complicated. You really just reverse engineer what's already working and then you recreate it yourself. It's a great place to start. And if any of those 10,000 people is a customer, especially, by the way, for all the people that are, saying social isn't applicable to my industry, more often than not, their lifetime value of the customer is incredibly high because it's like B2B, right? Everybody who sells B2C, who has like a very small sort of like a lifetime value of a customer, like $50, $100, $200, $500, they all get it because that's how they built their business in e-com or anything else, right? But for a manufacturer, well, your lifetime value of a customer, what, 500,000, 1,000,000, 5,000,000? Like your customer is like, if you're manufacturing, your customer annual contract, probably RFP, could be insanely big. Could be huge, right? So all you need is one person out of those 10,000 people to say, I like this company, I like this founder, I like this team, I like what they do. I'm tapped into their feed, I'm consuming their content every single day. And then that one person over a year starts to trust you. And when it's a buying decision for that company, they reach out to you as opposed to your competitor. And now you're making 500, $1 million, $5 million off of this one customer just because you put yourself out there. So the people that are the most adverse to social with the biggest customers and the biggest customer spend and the biggest lifetime value of that customer actually have the most to gain, because all it takes is one buyer and that's it. One CMO, one CEO to see what you're putting out there. And they're like, we're working with them. And then, I mean, you could have a whole social media team and one customer just eclipses that cost in a heartbeat. So that's the potential upside, right?
No, it is.
Yeah.
As you're saying this, like I got 4 or 5 buddies that are in the manufacturing business that I'm going to send the link to this conversation to and go, guys, like, WTF, like, what are you doing? Like, I can show you their websites and you'd be like, what the
I know exactly who you're, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
But I know who they are.
There's a gajillion of them out there. They don't think that, because we're business to business and but it's a competitive world. People are searching you online. If you have a stream of content, the procurement officer who is working on your contract they're going to search you. They're going to search your company, and the more content that they're going to see adds to credibility.
1,000%.
And
well, listen,
what was the word you used? Attention.
So my background's in B2B. So listen, I get, I get B2B. When you're selling B2B, you're selling 500,000, million, $5 million product. Doesn't matter what you're selling. On average, it takes minimum 7 to 15, 7 to 20 different touch points before a procurement officer, buyer, executive feels comfortable buying from you. It's a little bit less when it's like a B2C product. Now, what is a touch point? Well, a touch point could be anything. It could be they go to your website. It could be they call you. It could be you DM them on LinkedIn, say, this is what we're selling. It could be an email. It could also be pieces of content. It could be seeing a CEO on a podcast. These are all touch points. This is not like, this is buyer psychology. This is building trust with other humans. We already know that in B2B, 80 to 90% of the research before somebody makes a buying decision is done before they even engage with a sales rep from your company. This is and the number's creeping up even more and more. People want to learn, they want to research, they want to figure out what they're getting before they talk to somebody.
Yeah, they do all their homework.
All their homework.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the size of the company or the product, they do their homework. So understand that, say, let's just 80% of the research is done beforehand. And that means that the trust has to be built beforehand. So by the time they talk to somebody, they already know who you are, what you sell, how much you charge. They already have their references. They've spoken to their friends and they've consumed the content. They trust you. Then you're going to actually reduce what's called in sales velocity. So the amount of time between when you first speak to somebody and when they make a buying decision. If you have no content, you can still close them. Obviously, you can still close them. You're doing it right now. But the sales velocity could be a year. It could be 2 years. I don't know. It depends on how long it takes. You reach out to somebody, You meet them at a conference, at a trade show. You say, this is what I do for a living. This is what my company does. Okay, cool. Well, we already have a solution. So we'll, now we've started the relationship, and we may buy it next time we're up for renewal, whatever. Could be 5 years from now if it's a big deal that you're working on. Yeah. What content does is it increases the touch points that the customer has exposure to without actually directly engaging with somebody from your company. They can consume content, they can learn, they can listen to your CEO, they can listen to your thought leadership, they can trust you more. It's one of those 7 to 15 different touch points that's always being put in front of them. They're going to do their research, they're going to trust you, and by the time you speak to somebody, they already have figured out that you're the one they want to go with. And I'm not saying that 100% of the time is going to reduce the sales velocity or increase the closing ratio, but a fair amount of the time it will. So you're going to have a higher closing ratio because somebody already knows who you are, what you stand for. And also it's going to shorten it from like 5 years to 12 months to maybe they actually haven't even renewed and they went on a month to month with their existing provider because they already knew they wanted to move over to you. And maybe now that sales velocity is like a 30-day or a 60-day close instead of a potential 12-month or a 2-year close because they've been consuming your content and now they knew that they wanted to move in your direction. Like there are a million B2B reasons why you should create content. I just walked through a pretty traditional B2B sales cycle. So anybody selling B2B, this is why you got to do it anyways, because you're being ignorant if you don't. You are being ignorant and you are not selling the way that the buyer wants to sell. And the second they find an option of somebody that is selling the way they want to be sold to, you're irrelevant if you do not keep up with the way that the modern buyer wants to buy. So
it is 100% accurate. And then when now you're not selling on price alone either.
No,
you start to eliminate that, as not to say that's not going to be a factor. Of course it's going to be a factor. You
eliminate a lot of it.
But when you have trust, when you have attention, you have trust. And when you have trust, they're going to be like, listen, this is where we got to get to. And then you're really just, the price is, they've made the decision and the price is just hey, we got to get to a range here 1,000%. That we're all, either both of us are good with.
Because if you don't do that, then it's going to be a race to the bottom, right?
Right.
It's going to, like, what value do you bring if I don't trust you? You're a widget provider. You have no website. I don't feel like, I don't know anything about you. Okay, you sell the thing I need. Well, if I don't feel a connection to you, then just give me a lower price, or I'll go to the next anonymous person that can give me a lower price than you. Or I mean, this is a whole other conversation. I'm going to go to China and get it for like a tenth of the price because you're anonymous, they're anonymous. I know that they're making what you're selling me anyways. So why don't I just go to China and get it for like a tenth of the price? There's no trust. There was an interesting company.
This is happening in the employment industry right now in North America, because so many companies are offshoring, some certain tasks and skill sets, because there isn't the trust that you can hire somebody in North America and they're going to be around 6 months from now.
That's a whole other conversation about how people work and how they loyalty and how to, for sure. But I know this for a fact because somebody reached out to me and asked me to help them with their social media, and they created a very boring product. It was like important but boring product. It was like wheelchair ramps, right? So like a business would have if they just have steps outside to be ADA compliant, they would install a wheelchair ramp so that somebody can get into the business. But they were just losing massive. It was a mom and pop, family run, and they were losing massive amounts of market share because you could a wheelchair ramp is like a piece of metal. So you can buy it from this company for like $5,000, made in America, but $5,000, or you can go get it for like a couple $100 from China. Well, guess where people go get it? Like it's metal. Basically the logic is you can't really screw up a piece of metal that much. Right. And the result was them realizing our CEOs have to be more vocal. They have to put themselves out there. They have to tell a story about Made in America and why it's so important and the people they're employing. They have to communicate their story. They're not making anything up. They're just communicating what they're already doing because nobody knows it. Nobody knows who they employ and how they help local communities and why it's important to be buying made in America products. Like, people kind of get it, but when you're shopping, you have to think about what is the job of the buyer. The job of the buyer is, yeah, to get the thing, but to get it at the lowest possible cost, right? So if the buyer goes to their manager, the procurement officer says, I have two options here. One anonymous American company, one anonymous Chinese company. They both make the exact same thing. The Chinese company is going to take us like, maybe like 3 extra weeks to order it, but ultimately like it's the same product. And their boss will say like, but it's compliant. It's going to get the job done. It's not going to break it. Like, no, we checked references. This Chinese company is sold to this company. Well, they have to make a case if they're going to spend 5x the amount of money. It's very hard to make a case to spend 5x the amount of money if they're just competing on cost, like to your point. So, but when you start to build trust and you start to say like, this is the story, this is who we employ, this is, family operated and owned, all of a sudden you're tying into somebody's emotions and you're making them feel a certain way about your business. And because at the end of the day, business is always human to human. And that's how you win in a market that is like where price is pretty much the only differentiator. So this is this is an example of one company that is actually doing this right now as a way to survive so that they still exist in the next 10 years.
You mentioned about Gary Vee earlier as an example, but you had talked about one of the KPIs you look at is growing audiences, not the biggest audiences as examples.
The best audience for whatever it is you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
Yeah.
What are some of the other KPIs that you or one could measure or look to measure so that they can quantify with their teams, or
like if it's a useful useful investment?
Useful spend of money, or at least guides them in a direction where, hey, we should invest more here, we should invest more here, or this is even an option. I didn't even know that was an option.
Well, I would say that social should be part of your funnel for your business. So social should be sort of a top of funnel, and you should find ways to take people off of social and turn them into qualified leads. I mean, this is what we're trying to do for a business, right? And I mean, there's different ways to pull people off of social. I mean, on Instagram, you can use ManyChat, where somebody can comment and then you can DM them more information about your company, or you can get them to subscribe to like an email list. Then you can nurture them there. On any other social platform, you can have like a link in bio, where you push people to your website. You can measure how much traffic is coming in from your socials, and then see how many of those people that are viewing your content actually turn into qualified leads. If you have YouTube, there's there's something called above the fold, meaning when you post a YouTube video, in the description of the YouTube video, there's about, I think, 3 lines before you have to click see more, which gives you like a couple thousand characters of text. But just below YouTube video, above the fold, in those 3 lines before you have to click see more, then you put a call to action or a link there so that people click through and then go check out your website or go sign up for a newsletter. So you got to figure out where social fits in your funnel, usually top of funnel. And it can either be top of funnel, goes right to your website where there's a form that people can fill out to turn into a customer, or you can like do social media, newsletter, nurture them in the newsletter, and then turn them into customers. But ultimately, you want to take social media audience and then turn them into qualified leads. If you want to just measure how your social is doing, I would say that a couple metrics that matter. The metrics that don't matter are follower count. I would say that shares are probably the biggest metric that would matter. Like if somebody finds your content compelling enough to share it with one of their friends or their peers, that's a great metric to track. If you're, for example, posting image content or text content, obviously if you have a newsletter, then subscribers. But also if you have video, a good metric to track to see if your video is hitting would be retention. Retention is a big metric for podcasts and for YouTube, as well as for Instagram. So meaning that when you put a video on any of these video platforms, all the platforms will show you, do people see it and then drop off, or do they see it and do they watch? If they see it and they watch, that means you've captured their attention, and that's a really good metric. So,
and watch time, I'm sure too.
Watch time, but retention will lead to watch time, meaning like, I don't want to just upload 100 videos because then I'll have high watch time just because of virtue of having so much content right on my channel. But if I have like one video and people watch it for like 60 minutes, which is insane retention. Like most people, myself included, do not get like 100% retention on my podcast. But if I can get like 70 to 80% retention before they drop off, awesome. On a reel on Instagram, 30 to 45 seconds, if I have a really good hook and I can get like 60 to 70 to 80% retention on a reel on Instagram, great. Most content falls flat. People stop watching it like quite literally in the first 30 seconds. I mean, for long form, first 30 seconds. For short form, they'll drop off in like a second. So you want to look at that retention. If you have good retention on your video, that means that your content's good and it's resonating with your audience. And those would be the main metrics I would track. Comments are not as big a deal anymore. A higher signal of trust, like I mentioned, is sharing with their peers, or retweeting is a very high trust signal. Sharing on Instagram is a very high trust signal. And those would be the things that I'd measure as sort of like the on-platform metrics. But then, of course, ultimately, all those things are meant to generate qualified leads for your business.
Is there anything beyond that you would recommend for the small to medium-sized business owner in terms of plugging their content online? And
I don't think that there's too much different between a small and a large business owner in terms of content. You figure out where your content fits in your funnel. So content gets eyeballs, and you have to take those eyeballs and you have to take them off the platform, and you have to nurture them with an email, which increases those touch points that I was talking about. So they see you on social, they love your business, they subscribe to your email list, you send them an email once a week, and then eventually they'll turn into customers. This is the funnel from social, but the goal is to get them off social and then to subscribe or to you. Yes, that's always the goal, by the way, get them off social and into your email list. Not like you don't want them to follow you. I just mean like you want their email, you want their phone number.
Move from social to something that's more active.
100%. And also know that when you post on social, only a small percentage of your audience actually sees what you post. So even if you have a million followers, 5 to 10% are going to see what you post, right? Very different than if you have their email address or their phone number. I mean, if you email them, then 100% of the emails you have received the email. That is not the case on social. So social is good for top of funnel, for awareness, but then make sure that you're attracting the right people. Make sure that the leads that you're generating are actually qualified leads for whatever it is that you're trying to sell, because that's also an important metric. You can create really viral content that doesn't attract the right person, and then that's a waste of your time. Now, that's sort of step 2. I don't want you to worry about that yet. I want you to worry about starting posting and starting to create content. And then when you start to see people coming in from your content, then you figure out, is this content working or not? Then you sort of massage it from there. But no, for small business, for large business, same sort of theories about content. It acts as part of your funnel for your product or service. For a small business, I mean, use tools that you have available to you. I mean, if you want to talk tools, which would be the main difference, because instead of tools that you can use, you will probably have people that you hire in a larger business that will eventually just use a tool. But if you're a solopreneur or a founder, you can use some of these things yourself. I mean, for content ideation, you can use Claude, which is Anthropic's product, or ChatGPT, which is OpenAI's product. You can also use it if you want to record video. You can help it with research. It can help you with research, excuse me. It can put together talking points for you to record a video about. If you're like, hey, I want to create a video on top 10 things that a homeowner should worry about if their grass starts turning brown, then what are 5 or 10 talking points? Just give me some bullets, and then great, you have somebody who just wrote some bullets for you. You can riff on those if you're an expert in the area, record that, there's a piece of content, right? You can use tools like opus.pro. This is like a video editing tool. Submagic is a video editing tool. CapCut, another video editing tool that have AI components. What a lot of these tools do is it lets you take long form video and it identifies sort of the most important points of that long form video. Then it sort of chops it into short form video that is technically supposed to be optimized for social. I'm not a fan of using AI to just take an idea or a long form video, turn it into short form and post it. I still edit it, and I still get my editors to edit it because it's not perfect, but it removes like 80 to 85% of the work required in the content creation process. So if you have a long form video, you put into Opus or you put into Submagic, it'll create, 10, 15, 20 different short form videos. And then you look at them and you're like, these are good, but not perfect. So let me edit from here. But at least like the majority of the work's done. And then that'll sort of, that'll remove a lot of like the time required to edit, which is super time consuming. If you want to create video and you don't have somebody who you can hire, that would be a great resource to use. And then you can post those.
Who do you find to do editing? Like, is that
so this is a totally different conversation, but like scrappy startup strategy for me has always been on Upwork. I will always look for people on Upwork. One of my favorite spots to hire from in the world is the Philippines. The reason being is because English is the first language, so communication is super clear. And I think that's very important when you're working in different parts of the world. I have teams from everywhere, but that has been like a go-to really, really high caliber resource for me. Other things that you look for when you're hiring on Upwork, the reason why I like Upwork is because, of course, you can look at people that have hired these individuals before. So there's like a star rating. It shows how many projects they've worked on. But something else that it shows, which is a really, for me, an important signal as to whether or not they're good at their job, is the total amount that they've built. So on some of these like gig economy platforms, when you hire somebody, sometimes they'll sort of fake their ratings. They'll say they'll create accounts and they'll rate themselves. And then you get stuck, unfortunately, with like subpar talent.
Right.
But what Upwork does is it shows how much has been built. So I wouldn't hire somebody who has less than like $40,000 or $50,000 built, meaning that somebody has paid this person through Upwork about $40,000 or $50,000 plus dollars. That cannot be faked. So if you have somebody who, or sometimes 100,000, 300, like sometimes some of these people are like, have built really good businesses. So if you have somebody that has a high amount of earnings plus a really high star rating, knock it out of the park, like 10 out of 10 times. And then if I really love them, then I would hire them full time after say like a 3-month probation working through Upwork period. But I think that that's the most important, finding like really qualified talent. And I mentioned the Philippines in particular. There's lots of other places in the world where you can hire great talent. But for me, from somebody who's like more recently in my career, only worked in remote environments, hiring people that are proficient communicators is incredibly important. If you cannot communicate properly with your team, each task is going to take 10x as long. It's a pure efficiency thing. So if somebody, when I tell them what we're trying to accomplish and they get it immediately, that to me is like worth its weight in gold. And of course, if you want, you can hire people anywhere in the world. You can hire people in the US, but I'm talking about super scrappy. You have limited budget, limited resources. You can take advantage of the fact that we have incredible talent globally. And that's something that I think anybody who's just starting out, who's a solopreneur, who is working in a virtual environment, for sure.
Yeah, if you don't have a lot of budget, I think you nailed it on the head. Like if you don't have a lot of budget and you're looking for something, try to find somebody who understands your vision. And if you're doing a long form podcast, you should use my producer Heather from Twisted Spur. Heather, don't delete this.
No, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, if you're doing really like, I think mission driven work, you want to find somebody that is aligned with your vision.
Oh, 1,000%.
And I think like,
now, by the way, as you evolve your team, there is a lot of value, I think, in having somebody who can be like in your office, in your location. I think there's tons of value in that as well. But that's not where I suggest most people start.
No, and
I think
as you grow, you can start to outsource. You can have one person in your office, and then you can outsource some of your other stuff.
Yeah, listen, we are a connected world right now, and there is talent everywhere, and this is again one of the 4 types of leverage. So not just figuring out how to use capital to grow your business or media or technology, but we have access to talent in all parts of the world that can help with a variety of different things. So again, that is another thing where the barrier to entry to build has never been lower. And I think that the smart entrepreneur understands that. And listen, entrepreneurship is a game of staying alive as long as possible until it works. That's all it is. That's all it is. If you want to stay alive, you got to be strategic. And if you want to start a business and you don't have $100,000 to pay someone an annual salary, you got to figure out how to get your business started before going bankrupt. And this is how you start. This is how you get your feet off, whatever, you dip your toe in whatever the saying is. And then as you grow, then you start to figure out what resources you need, in-house, outsource, and then that's how you scale your team.
Yeah, you got to be able to outrun your cash depletion.
That's it. But that's why, like, all these ideas, all the tools, all the tech, all the hiring, the local, the hiring overseas, like all of it is about setting yourself up so you can stay in the game for as long as it takes to figure out how to get your business to be successful, or your content to be successful, or whatever it is you're trying to.
Yeah, no, it's great. This is fantastic advice. To your point just now about the 4 leverages, is there another one that you feel like, well, just that, is there something that you feel like you've missed, or potentially that it would provide unbelievable impact to the listener?
Another idea.
Oh yeah. Like, what else is there that, come on in. This is when I wish I could turn one of the cameras just to show,
I know, right?
Show the big boy.
Oh, you got some more equipment?
The boss.
It's a mic stand.
Oh, yeah. A desktop mic stand.
One thing you're going to find as you keep doing this, you probably already have this, but you start to collect so much damn equipment.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, and we have like, we've the studio back home in Canada.
That's true. Yeah.
And then, so we kind of left everything there, and now
you got a whole bunch of new stuff
now
down here.
building a whole bunch of new stuff down here. So
yeah. This is a blast from the past. You're going to turn into a whole little Radio Shack when
I know. The blast from the past.
Yeah, right. I don't even think they still exist anymore, do they?
I don't know. Do they? I think there's the odd small community, I think.
Maybe.
But like, how do they exist? Because we ordered something. It wasn't tech or it was just, I forget what it was that we ordered. And we ordered it at 6 a.m. before we left for the gym, or maybe it was on a weekend, so it would have been more like 7. Point is
it was there by the time you got back?
By the time we got back, 2 hours later, it was sitting at our front door. You're like, what?
I don't know how they exist. I think that a lot of brick and mortar, the customer base will eventually die off. And this is actually pretty relevant to this conversation. If you don't figure out how to tap into a new customer base, and you're kind of just, you're comfortable because your existing customer base is still alive, that is not a good business model. But I think that's some people's business model.
I agree. It actually is a really good point. I asked the question, and then this is the topic that pops up because my wife walks in the door, and the future of AI, where we get these, this, whatever you want to call it, a Jarvis style of which I really do think we're going to get to faster than people may think it's going to. Like, people might think 10. I think we're going to be there. I'm going to say 5 years. I would bet that's when we'll be there.
I think I think that the bigger issue is not going to be if we can get there fast. It's going to be getting there safely with AI. I think that, listen, we already have robotics. There's a great company, Figure AI, entrepreneurs, a really smart dude named Brett Adcock. And I mean, they already have robotics that I'm pretty sure can do like day-to-day chores. And there's another company, I think, out of somewhere in Europe that actually has a commercial model, meaning like you can buy it for, I think, 20 grand.
Yeah. It's A1. Yeah. They're out of, actually, I just ordered one.
Did you?
Yeah. I'm
20 grand, right?
Yeah. It was 20,000. It was 20,000 or $499 a month or something like that.
$500 a month.
$500 a month.
So I'm going to text you when you get it, because I'm so curious if it's going to be like annoying or if it's going to be useful. I don't know yet.
When you start doing the deeper reading, like there's going to be a telehandler, and they're going to be dialing in remote, and it's not going to be seamless.
You know what? But I would take somebody. I don't care if somebody has to dial in and do my chores for me. Like, be my guest.
Yeah. It's not like, dial in, get it going so that we can start to create the process. Oh, to the point. So, I mean, we already see this now. How many times do you get on, you're at a dinner and you're talking to your friends and you talk about whatever product or whatever it is, and then the next morning it pops up in your feeds.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
And so that the algorithms are already there. So now all they have to do is just create which already exists with Siri or whoever. And so now all of a sudden your Siri just has to say, hey, I know last night you guys were talking about this. Would you like to see a list of available products?
Oh yeah, I know.
That is going to happen like so fast.
I know.
So to your point, if you don't have a content strategy, how the hell are they going to find you?
Well, that's the thing too. So we didn't talk about, so it's a content strategy, but it's also a big problem that businesses are dealing with right now is traditional SEO is dying and people are having a hard time ranking their business in all these like chat tools. So like OpenAI or Anthropic, now people are replacing Google with these tools as search engines, right? And businesses are having a hard time, not only staying relevant just on social, but even staying relevant on the internet, because now it will be figured out sooner or later, but getting your business to rank when somebody goes to ChatGPT and says, give me the best pizza restaurant in West Palm Beach. Okay. The best pizza restaurant in West Palm Beach that had SEO'd their website perfectly, that was ranking on Google, is some of them will be there, but it's not like ChatGPT just copied that list and put it in ChatGPT. So now different restaurants are showing up when you search that.
When you search it. Yep.
So now there's something called, I think it's, I don't even know if it's a real term, but like generative SEO or generative search or generative search optimization, GSO, or something, where it's like SEO is search engine optimization.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have to have search optimization for generative chat tools. So, I mean, technology is just everything you knew about marketing, it's blowing it up. So you need to figure out how to play a new game, whether or not that's with AI and how do you rank your website and your business in AI search, because that's where everybody's searching for products and services now. Or is it media? How do you stay relevant? How, when somebody goes to Instagram and types pizza West Palm Beach, is it your reel that shows up when somebody wants to go get pizza? I don't know. If it's not, then you know where they're going to go. They're going to go to the best looking 30-second clip of this delicious looking pizza. It doesn't matter what's on Google anymore. That's not where people are looking. Not everybody, but enough people where it can really hurt your business.
Well, and it's happening fast.
Yeah.
To
yeah,
your
it's
point,
happening
it's
very
like
fast. It's
people
like
are still
changing like
using
this,
Google,
right?
Yeah, I even actually, when I said earlier on the podcast, words matter.
Yeah.
I'm very careful, like, to not say the word like, oh, I Googled it. Right. Like
yeah.
I cognizantly think about when I hear myself about to say, oh, I Googled it, I changed and I went, oh, I GPT'd it.
It's true. Because that's what you're doing.
Because
Now, Google did become a verb, but that's a whole other point. They
Yeah,
they did quite well. Now, I mean, like, I'm not going to sleep on Google either. I think that Google just released a new iteration of Gemini, and Google has massive amounts of resources behind it. I know that like it's like an AI war right now going on, like an AI land grab, because you got OpenAI, you got Anthropic, you got Google, you got Grok. But like I would always bet on Google. So even though OpenAI is stealing some search traffic from Google, I would never bet against Google. Like apparently Gemini, I think 3, if I'm not mistaken, which was just released, is their newest sort of generative chat tool, and apparently just is incredible. Yeah, they'll figure. I mean, they're not a small company, and they have a lot of smart people working for them, and I'm sure they'll figure out something that'll compete with OpenAI. But yeah, it is important. Like regardless of whatever Google does, or whatever happens to like traditional search traffic, which is declining by the way, or whatever happens to like any marketing strategy you're using now, it's just like the world is changing faster than ever. So you just got to like stay up and up on it. Like you just can't chill for a year because something is going to change. HubSpot does a lot of research on inbound traffic. And I know this because I go to their event every year. They've been supporting my show for a while now. And HubSpot grew their business basically on SEO. So Mark Roberge, and I'm sure the founding team, sort of their first take to market strategy for HubSpot as a business was write a whole bunch of blogs on a whole bunch of business topics, and they're going to rank on Google. And then when somebody Googles how to handle, or how to close a deal, or how to handle an objection, or how to make a cold call, or any kind of business search, a HubSpot blog ranked as like the number 1 or number 2 result. Okay. But what happened is, and I think they just talked about this at Inbound, which is their annual conference, over the past, say, 5 years, even though they were the ones ranking for most business search queries, which is literally how they built their business. Like HubSpot coined the term inbound. That's the name of their conference. Now that's a pretty popular business term. It's when you get leads coming into you. But they were like kind of like the company that started that idea through blogging and through SEO. But they show charts of their blogging traffic over time, and it's just like tanking, just like tanking. All Google traffic for HubSpot is drying up. And this is at one point, I don't know what their market cap is now, but this is a $34 billion publicly traded company. And you know what they did to counteract? They noticed that search traffic was decreasing. Chat and AI was not really a thing yet. So they're like, what do we do? Now they're focused on becoming like the search query that populates in all these chat tools. But in the meantime, they also heavily invested in media. And they started the HubSpot Podcast Network, and they started the HubSpot Creator Network. And now they have a whole bunch of, I'm sure, like probably about 50 different creators, where they have been working with creators like myself as included. Other podcasts would be like My First Million, which is a big business podcast, Entrepreneurs on Fire, another big business podcast. They work with all these big business creators because they realize that to counteract and to compensate for the decrease in search engine traffic, which was only further made an issue with the advent of AI, they are investing in media brands, and they are acquiring newsletters, they're acquiring podcasts, they're acquiring all these media entities to drive traffic to compensate for the lack of search engine traffic. So they were, again, kind of ahead of the curve in terms of like the future of marketing. And this is a $34 billion company that has enterprise clients. Like, so they knew where everything was going way before it was going there. They saw the decline in search. They invested in media. Now they're investing in AI, and this is how they're going to compensate. But I just spoke at Inbound, their conference. This year was in San Francisco. Usually it's in Boston, but their keynote, it just showed their search over time, and it's like a tenth of what it used to be.
Wow. Now
and,
the 34
and that's the company
billion,
that built their company on search.
right? And they're 34 billion, so they can survive it and they can figure it out.
Yeah.
And they'll create a new strategy.
Yes.
But the small guys can't.
No,
and that's our whole point to a lot of this conversation, which is I think really
so take the lessons and take the foresight that the $34 billion company and all the highly paid executives and marketers they're investing their time and their energy and their resources to figure this out. So take the lessons from them. That's what you incorporate into your own business.
I'm curious on the media side. So they snap up all these media companies, and are they more focused now on education? And if so, is that driving a higher quality of lead?
But they were always, well, yes, they are focused on education, but even when they had their first inbound blogging strategy as a content strategy, it was always education.
Okay.
It was always education first as like a sales strategy. There are other companies that, of course, every company at that level has content and media and like a trillion different marketing projects going on simultaneously. But some companies, for example, are more outbound driven, meaning they have like a sales team that like is reaching out to customers. It's more like a traditional sales force. And HubSpot has that too. But I'm just saying that they over index on content and education and inbound traffic compared to a lot of other of their competitors that are probably more like, if I think about like Salesforce, like SFDC, which is a direct competitor, they don't have like the media network that HubSpot has. They don't have all the blogs that index on Google like HubSpot has. They have a really strong sales team, which has also turned them into a behemoth. Like, I mean, like it's also a massive publicly traded company, but different strategy, very, very different strategy. Everything can work. I'm just saying that the best possible strategy is probably a mixture of everything. It's a mixture of obviously good sales force, but also understanding like the future of marketing is attracting and inbound through content, through indexing on chat. And that's what they're trying to do now. And they're doing it successfully, but they were definitely ahead of the curve.
It's a wild world, man.
It really is. And it seems overwhelming, but it's just about paying attention. It's like, it's not that, it's like, it's overwhelming, when you hear it all in a podcast and you've been in like a silo, shut off from the outside world, saying that AI is not for me, social media is not for me, then you listen to one podcast and you have like an oh shit moment. But like, it's just a mindset shift. It's just a mindset shift. I say it understanding the gravity of, shifting the mindset of a business owner that's been in the game for like 30 years. It's probably not easy to do. But you start consuming social. You start looking at your competitors that are killing it on social. You start playing around with ChatGPT. You start being a curious person. And 6 months later, you're a smart person. You figured out how to build a business. It's not going to take you. It's not rocket science.
No, I think you said this really, really well, probably 2 hours ago. But you said this really, really well, I thought, which was, these guys have done this before. These girls, these women, these men, they've done this before. They started their business. They've been through the ups and the downs. This is just something new that they've got to learn.
Yeah.
That
It's more stubbornness than anything, because they obviously have the intellectual capacity to figure out AI and figure out social. It is just pure stubbornness and ego. And both of those things are not good traits.
No, they're detrimental to the growth of any business.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this has been an amazing conversation. It's been,
I've enjoyed this a lot, actually.
oh
Thank you
man,
so much.
I mean, innovate or die. I mean, we're getting to, and that maybe that was an extreme bumper sticker, a few years ago. But I think that, where we're going with technology and the speed of technology, and like what you just said about, you're not ranking on Google, like people have spent so much time, energy, and keeping up with Google as they change their algorithms constantly. It's like a full-time job.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you're going to now do Google, and now you have to do, AI.
You have to figure out Google, you have to figure out AI, you got to figure out social. It does seem like a lot, but I mean, like, nobody signed up for entrepreneurship saying it was easy. We're in this game because we love the game, not because it's the easiest way for us to live our lives. But you enjoy it. Like, you enjoy challenges. You enjoy figuring shit out. You enjoy problem, solution, another problem, another solution. But it is fun. It is truly fun. I mean, I can't reinforce this enough. Like, when I look at content, it's just a game. It's fun to create. It's fun to interview. It's fun to and it's really fulfilling to create something that hopefully impacts somebody and helps them out wherever they're at in their journey. But then after that, it's just like, it's a game. Like, okay, so how do we do the edit? How do we change the style? What are the questions that you want to ask? What's it like? And then it's just this nonstop game. And I just love playing this game. But I think that loving the game is a prerequisite for entrepreneurship. Like, that's why I don't like you asked me some more mindset things that I think are important. I don't like passion. I don't like the idea of passion, because passion assumes that, like, you take something that you love in life and then you build a business around it. I've always found that, like, you become passionate through mastery, through success, through figuring things out. Like, podcast is fulfilling to me because it teaches somebody something. But like, when I was born, I was not like, I love podcasting, I want to be a podcaster. This is just like a means to an end of something that really fulfills me. And when you go into it with like an obsession of, I'm going to figure it out, it's sort of tied into my personal North Star. I'm gonna give 150% of myself to this thing. That's when you start to become passionate about it. But I think that's really what you have to apply that mindset to building a business, to starting a podcast, to being a content creator, to doing anything. It's like, forget passion. Just, does it tie into your North Star? Be obsessed about it, and then commit to it for an extended period of time. And then one day you'll look up and be like, holy shit, it worked.
Yep. And find a way. I'm going to add, like, as you were saying all this stuff, I would just say, like, you've got to find a way. If you don't want to do this, go find a 22-year-old kid that works in your business, or an 18-year-old kid, somebody who's already dialed in. They're doing content anyways for themselves. They would love this role. And you would be teaching them a lot, because you'd be able to use your past business acumen and framing it and teaching them how to utilize in a current, technology,
it would be a great
methodology.
Symbiotic relationship.
100% it would be.
Yeah.
So, buddy, thank you so much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thanks for making the drive.
Oh, my pleasure.
And this has been an amazing conversation, and
Agreed.
I can't thank you enough.
Thank you, man.
Appreciate you being here,
I
bro.
appreciate you
Thank
inviting
you.
me, dude.
Okay. So guys, if you want to access Scott or find him, his website is scottdclary.com. At Scott D. Clary on everything else social media. So please reach out to him and then check out his podcast whenever you want. It's a fantastic podcast, Success Story Podcast. So scottdclary.com for the website, and at Scott D. Clary for all his social media handles. And the podcast is called Success Story Podcast. Thanks for listening. I appreciate you being with us. If you found value in the show and know a friend or a coworker who could benefit from the conversation, please share the link via text or on social media. Remember, each share creates a ripple effect of knowledge and inspiration. We'll see you next week.
The views, information, or opinions expressed by guests during the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Dwayne Kerrigan and his affiliates. Dwayne Kerrigan or the Dwayne Kerrigan podcast is not responsible for and does not verify the accuracy of any of the information contained in the podcast series. The primary purpose of this podcast is to educate and inform. Listeners are advised to consult with a qualified professional or specialist before making any decisions based on the content of this podcast.